the current excitement is about the potential for Northern Australia. And I just want to take a moment to go into that opportunity further. The birth of the modern Australian cotton industry took place in New South Wales during the late 60s, 70s, and 80s. And you can see that the concentration in the southern areas of New South Wales was based around our river system to provide the irrigation supply. And this led to New South Wales producing 70% of our production and Queensland the remaining 30%. These areas have served us very well, but new technologies come along, bringing new varieties that are facilitating this recent expansion. Following the millennium drought of the early 2000s, and I've really got no idea what we're going to call this current devastating drought, the industry needed to expand, otherwise it potentially would have died. Our industry has changed dramatically in the last dozen years. In the last 8 years, there has been significant expansion in the Lachlan Valley and Murrumbidgee irrigation area. This shift in our production has come about as a result of two factors. A, our research and development advancements in shorter season growing varieties. And B, a transition out of rice production due to better water efficiencies. Production in these most southern valleys has increased approximately 140% since 2011, and today roughly accounts for 15 to 20% of the total crop. The water reliability that supports this production in the southern valleys should help us put a floor in Australian production. On the map, you can see the northern areas of Queensland, the Northern Territory, and Western Australia that are currently trialling cotton in those regions. The Australian cotton industry holds a very strong culture to research and development that has underpinned our commitment to quality. CSIRO, or the Commonwealth Science and Industry Research Organisation, has been developing cotton varieties since 1984. Over the last 30 years, CSIRO has developed 113 varieties, with research and development over this period focusing on increasing yields, disease resistance, and fiber qualities. The improvements in the average quality of the Australian crop, consequential through CSIRO's initiatives, speak for themselves. Our average staple is now consistently 1 3/16, while the percentage of the crop, representing a strength of 32 GPT, has also increased dramatically. Threats, I guess, can also be known as challenges. I think it is fair to say that Australian cotton is produced under the most strict environmental regulations in the world. But we really do need the social license to be able to produce this crop. Our industry has over 1,000 growers, producing a crop with a value over $2 billion. It directly employs 10,000 regional people and supports many thousands of others who have some association to it. But the bottom line is, we still need the community to believe in us and allow us to develop this industry. Water availability and efficiency is crucial. Water, for the most part, will be in short supply. We are the driest continent on Earth, so using what we have in the best possible way is a constant target. Today, we are using 40% less water to grow 1 ton of cotton compared to 2003. In 2015-16, cotton accounted for 16% of the total water use on Australian farms. And interestingly, the largest area of irrigated land is used for pasture and cereal crops for grazing. Drought really is hard to put into words. The devastation that it causes impacts everyone and everything. Man-made fiber, as we all know, has been the biggest threat and challenge to the cotton industry since the 1960s. And hopefully, we are beginning to turn that around. Despite all of the recent expansion, Australia's production will always be influenced by the fact that we are a country of drought or flood, and thus our production will be variable. To dramatically illustrate our point, production in 2018 was approximately 4.8 million bales, while this season we'll produce somewhere around half that crop at 2 to 2.4 million bales. Next year, the 2020 season, is looking even smaller due to the lack of water availability, particularly in our more traditional cotton areas. It is a guess for next year, but as things stand, we'll be in the 1 to 1.5 million bale range. So just how does an industry plan for such variability in production? Because it impacts everyone in our trade. This is Australia. The only thing that is consistent about our weather is that it is either consistently dry, which is the vast majority of time, or it is consistently wet. The current conditions are one of the worst droughts we've witnessed, and it is definitely a record breaker in New South Wales, with the complete lack of rain. In this era of increasing environmental awareness, droughts appear to raise the public interest more than any other natural disaster. And that is the situation in Australia today. Our river systems are running dry. Towns are being required to bring in water, and the strain is beginning to tell. The current drought is raising everyone's stress levels, and we desperately need rain. Now, this really could be both a challenge and an opportunity. Cotton has spent 50 years losing market share to man-made fiber. But over the past 12 months, we've seen the global consumer starting to really question the origin of their products and their impact on the environment. Man-made fibers are finally having to focus on how and the ways in which their products impact the environment. So I do feel that at the moment this is going to give cotton an opportunity to start, albeit small, but start gaining back some market share. Looking at our exports, like our production, our export markets also vary, and we've had to be constantly aware of the changing market dynamics. Not too long ago, Indonesia was our #1 destination, and Bangladesh and Vietnam hardly rated a mention. Indeed, only 16 years ago, Indonesia was taking 30% of our production, and China was at 4%. In 10 years, what a difference. China is now the dominant destination for Australian cotton. And it would appear that China will be the main influence in our industry for many years to come, even if a lot of our cotton does ultimately end up in Vietnam, also to Chinese spinning concerns. This dramatic change in export destinations firstly provided the industry with tremendous opportunity. However, that has now transformed into a significant challenge as a consequence of our reliance on the China market. Where are the other markets? What would happen if China limits imports of Australian cotton, or just simply finds another growth of cotton to use? So it's always good to have a crystal ball, although I do find that mine is murky far more than it becomes clear. However, I have no doubt that sometime in the not too distant future, we will grow 6 million bales in Australia. That's not too difficult to predict. The issue will be, how do we market that amount of premium high-grade cotton? Where does it go? Let's review and look at the key takeaways from my presentation today. Because when I look at the Australian challenges and opportunities, I also find that what is applicable to us is also applicable around the world. We all must navigate challenges and explore opportunities. Specifically for us, our challenges are production reliability. Are we going to have a big or a small crop? Competing crops, keeping ahead of those other crops, and indeed our other competing cotton crops. Social license and environmental concerns. And then we're all confronted with the challenge of man-made fibers. So we must make sure we generate consistent premiums for our quality chains, thus maintaining the economic and social viability of the cotton industry. The opportunities, they are led by research and technology, helping to us improve yields. Sustainability credentials are increasingly important in today's marketplace. Australian Cotton participates in the Better Cotton Initiative program and is a Cotton Leads partner. As a result of Australia's best management practices, we have seen a 95% reduction in pesticides, 42% increase in water efficiency, 30% less land to produce a ton of cotton, and supply chain traceability from farm to mill. So how much further can we go? The bottom line for all of this is that there is no country in the world that produces cotton under such strict environmental guidelines and still produces one of the world's best cottons. Which then brings me to our biggest challenge. Just how do we beat that team? In summary, Australia is a country of drought followed by flood. It's in our history and will be in our future. The key is managing and being prepared for what we know is going to come, but in reality can do little about. Nevertheless, despite all the challenges, Australia is a country of great opportunity, and we do have a great cotton industry. On that note, I'd like to leave you today with a video that we produced to highlight our industry. Many thanks for your attention, and it truly has been a pleasure to be back in India.
Thank you so much, sir, for that brilliant presentation and exceptionally well video as well. And now I would like to invite Mr. Atul Ganatra to kindly come and present the Suvin Ratna to Mr. White.
Sir, excellent.